Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Chapter 2, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Verse 4. Hare Krishna. If someone needs the Hungarian book, it's over here. Okay, Chapter 4. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyevs asatsvapi tesham pramato nidhanam pashyan api na pashyati. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyevs avastvapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyan api na pashyati. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyesh asatsvapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyan api na pashyati. Devotees. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyesha sastvapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyan api na pashyati. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyesha satsvapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyam api na pashyati. Mataji. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyesha satsvapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyan api na pashyati. Deha patya kalatradis atma sanyesha satsvapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyan api na pashyati. Thank you. Deha, body. Apatya, children. Kalatra, wife. Adishu, and in everything in relation to them. Atma, own. Sanyeshu, fighting soldiers. Asatsu, loud. Asatsu, failable. Api, in spite of. Tesham, of all of them. Pramata, too attached. Nidanam, destruction. Pashyan, having been experienced. Api, although. Na, does not. Pashyati, see it. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. Please repeat after me. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva
Persons devoid of Atma Tattva
do not inquire into the problems of life,
do not inquire into the problems of life,
being too attached
too attached
to the fallible soldiers
to the fallible soldiers,
like the body, children, and wife.
like the body, children, and wife.
Although sufficiently experienced,
Although sufficiently experienced,
they still do not see
they still do not see
their inevitable destruction.
their inevitable destruction.
Srila Prabhupada purport. This material world is called the world of death. Every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germ who lives for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is a sort of fight with material nature which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence, but being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his deceased predecessors, he does not see that the so-called fighting soldiers, like the children, relatives, society members, and countrymen, are all fallible in the great struggle. One should examine the fact that his father or his father's father has already died, and that he himself is therefore also sure to die. And similarly, his children, who are the would-be fathers of their children, will also die in due course. No one will survive in this struggle with material nature. The history of human society definitely proves it. Yet the foolish people still suggest that in the future they will be able to live perpetually with the help of material science. This poor fund of knowledge exhibited by human society is certainly misleading, and it is all due to ignoring the constitution of the living soul. This material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. Otherwise, the living soul is always different from the material nature. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Due to a lack of knowledge of self, we become victimized by the force of ignorance and thus spoil the valuable energy of human life in a vain search after permanent living conditions which are impossible in the material world. Our friends, relatives, and so-called wives and children are not only fallible but also bewildered by the outward glamour of material existence. As such, they cannot save us. Still, we think that we are safe within the orbit of family, society, and country. The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Everyone is a dead body, flapping only for the few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Shukadev Goswami is pointing out the duty of the human being after showing the actual position of bewildered human activities. Persons who are devoid of the knowledge of Atma Tattva are misguided, but those who are devotees of the Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered. The verse one more time. Deha patya kolatradish atma sanyesh asat svapi tesham pramato nidanam pashyan api na pashyati. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life. Being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children and wife, although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see inevitable destruction. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripas Hadiyamit Valaskya Hadiyamit Vaiṣṇava Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutara Srimate Bhakti Bringa Govinda Swami Namine. Can we see it now? Oh, wonderful. We are live. Finally, we are live. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much for your attention. Hare Krishna. We will talk a little bit about how did we get to this point. Then we will talk about what Shukadeva Goswami is telling here. Why is he saying this? And then we will come to a conclusion briefly. There was a terrible curse. It occurred in the first canto. The curse occurred in the first canto, 18th verse, 18th chapter, 37th. The Brahmana's son cursed the king thus: on the 7th day from today, a snake bird will bite the most wretched one of that dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit, because of this having broken the laws of etiquette by insulting my father. So that was the curse. This is one of the precursors of where we are now. Then we know the story. Maharaj Parikshit accepted his fate. He went to the banks of the Ganges. He sat there to fast for 7 days. And then this news spread very quickly around the universe. And everyone came and sat around him. And the most prominent of them arrived, Shukadeva Goswami. And now Parikshit Maharaj, not now, but one of the earlier verses, Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadeva Goswami a very important question. This is in the 19th chapter of the first canto, verse 24. O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die. This is something people don't talk about. They don't want to die, unfortunately. This is the nature. So then we arrived to today's verse, where persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children and wife. Although scientifically experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. So what happens here is that seemingly Shukadeva Goswami starts on a low note, very negative. He actually puts the negative on us immediately. This is awful, this is terrible, this is, you are stupid, you're gonna die, blah, blah, blah. But this is not actually negative. It's a technique, to raise the consciousness. So fallible soldiers, in this instance, in the purport, Prabhupada says that a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding that this great struggle for existence, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle of existence, but being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. So this is interesting principle. This we see everywhere. that we put so much effort and energy. And as in the purport, Prabhupada later explains that we are just decorating a dead body. We are flapping about for a few seconds like a moth, or an ant lives few days only, is running around. We see these flying ants. They entered our temple room, and now they're just flapping around. They're waiting their time to end, and they're gonna get a better life, next life. But this is the material world. That's an example, wonderful example. Of course, we feel for these creatures, but thank you for showing us an example, real example. So what we do, we actually have this army. We have the wife, we have the children, we have the dog, we have the house, we have the lock on the door, we have a car in the garage has double lock. So this is our army, this will protect me. That's what we believe in. And not just those things, we see that psychologically we have this, because we think we are this body. It's a psychological phenomenon. It's taught in, for instance, military and also in the martial arts, that when you attack someone, the natural response to that attack will be a raised hand to protect somehow. So we can also translate this army and this protection of us to this principle as well. If someone wants to hit you, you will immediately raise your hand to protect, especially the head. That's just a flight instinct. That's just how you protect the most valuable thing you think it is. You're not going to put your hands on your knees when someone tries to hit you. So in the martial arts and in the military, actually, it is taught to suppress that natural instinct, and then either just counteract or do something else. Anyway, we're not going to go into the military stuff now, martial arts now. And due course of time, we do gain experience in this protection, in this war against the material world, because we know that if we lock the door, no one will come in. So we have that experience, and in the verse it is nicely, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada nicely explains how this is actually happening. We have this, we got it right? We know, we have this confidence. We have been taught in the art of protecting our valuables in this world by surrounding ourselves with these, as Prabhupada says, and the words, fallible soldiers. And sometimes we can see that there are individuals who master this knowledge even better than us, and they stand out in the society. They seem invincible, so you can't touch them, you can't approach them, you can't hurt them, you can't do anything to them. But what it means really is that they just, studied the material energy, and they concluded rightly how it operates, because it has a structure, how it has been created, and they just utilize the elements properly. Whether that be a material thing or psychological or metaphysical even. But we understand that the core issue is that we are not this body, and whatever effort we put on this body will be futile, completely futile, because we are flapping around for a few days and then it's all gone. I did a little search online about how are we actually wasting our time in dealing with this body and attending this body. And there is a list of around 50 different different items. I didn't put it out there. It's just too much, but you have it in Hungarian in a full list: astrology, horoscope reading, tarot reading, oracle cards, psychics reading, channeling spirits, crystal healing, Reiki, aura reading, chakra balancing, third eye activation workshop, Kundalini activation sessions, sound healing, gong baths, tuning fork healing, frequency healing, vibrational medicine, quantum healing, laws of attraction practices, vision, laws of attraction. I heard once that if you work in a closed environment, for instance in the office, this laws of attraction applies. It's called the law of proximity. Even if you are the most gorgeous, most beautiful, most attractive woman in the universe, and you consider yourself above all, if across the table on your desk sits an ugly, bearded, fat co-worker, just because of this law of attraction, law of proximity, you will naturally start experiencing attraction to that person. That's just how the law works. Very funny. Vision boards as a magical practice, moon rituals, numerology, angel numbers, sacred geometry mysticism. I'm going to skip few here. Future life reading, indigo child beliefs. Have you heard about indigo child? So it's another, we are dealing with the body, we are putting emphasis on that. Remote viewing, astral projection groups, shamanic workshops, totem worship, divination with pendulums, palmistry, tea leaf reading. All right, I won't read it all. It's really, really crazy. It's synchronicity interpretation systems. Believe or not, these are all genuine principles and systems people put emphasis on and put faith in and believe these will protect them and save them. The last one on my list is it not? Oh no, it's in another list. Okay, there are many lists here. Okay, so this was the security. We think that all these things will somehow or other protect us. But this is, what is it called? I can't see it here. Pramata, yes, pramata. In Srimad Bhagavatam 5:5-4, Rishabhadev tells to his sons, Nyunam pramata kurute vikarma. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activities. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but as he has awarded the material body for sense gratification, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not benefiting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another. This is nectar. What is nectar? It's a condensed essence, the substance. It's milk boiled for hours on end until you get that dense, condensed, tasty end product. You add little sugar, little camphor, and it's nectar. So everything is explained in these verses. So, yeah, crazy. Oh yes, bodily activities. Let's go further. Okay, out of these, we have the last one. I want to emphasize the last one. So, fearing of death. So, you take a mental note of the rest. Again, this is just a fraction of everything. This is not clearly emphasizing all of it, but it just emphasizes the vastness of this confusion, the vastness of our illusion, how deeply we are entangled and engaged. Fearing death is the ultimate, and because of that, we will try to do all the rest. Crazy, no? Now we're going to talk a little bit about transition. The transition from spiritual, from material to spiritual. And in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, Sanatana Goswami says, it's 23135 of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Vishudetu vivekena satyatmani hareh padam gate aprakritam bhakti vidhayo vilasantihi. Keyword here is vivekana. Vivek means discrimination. When by spiritual discrimination a devotee becomes completely pure in heart and attains the transcendental abode of the Lord, he realizes the wonderful varieties of devotional service. So I chose this verse specifically because it emphasizes this transition, the discrimination, very important. 1 second, please. There are further verses helping us understand how to discriminate. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, 8 and 9, verses 8 and 9, actually explain this. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing. So we are now actually receiving the medicine. And the medicine in this instance, how to discriminate, it's easy to say. Why don't you understand? It's so simple. So what do we need to understand? We need transcendental knowledge. And this is how transcendental knowledge is presented to us. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, activities which we just minutes ago explained are those which now we use to protect us. But it is explained here, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So this is the transcendental knowledge. We are not this body. We are in this body which has senses, and these senses interact with sense objects. So it breaks down the illusion. So if I have a nice item like this computer, it's very attractive, it's all put together beautifully, and everything is laid out perfectly symmetric, colors are perfect, so it's attractive. But if we would take this computer and take it apart and put all these pieces together in one pile, it won't be attractive anymore. And that is the reason behind the importance of understanding the creation. The creation, we will come to that in the subsequent chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why it is important to understand, because the creation, with understanding the creation, this complex whole is dismantled into pieces and put in front of us in a big pile. So how this all become? And then we will just say, oh, really? Oh, I thought it's better. No, it's not. But I had this idea that if I do, no, it's just a pile of elements. It's just a huge, big pile of material elements. Nothing here is, what it seems. So that's what it is. There is another verse. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj explains this. Prahlad Maharaj replied, this is 7.5.30. Prahlad Maharaj replied, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations towards Krishna are never aroused, either by the instruction of others, by their own effort, or by the combination of both. So this is the sequence. This is what's happening. Because we have this idea, I am this body, and this body is made out of senses, and now I want to interact with the sense objects, whatever that might be. I will do it uncontrollably. I will have no limit, no control. I want more. That's what it says here. And because the interaction of senses and the sense objects only gives as much of an enjoyment as it is designed to, not unlimited enjoyment. That's why we are trying it again and again and again, chewing the chew. Charvita charvananam. Give me more, I'll try. No, this time it didn't work because of that item. But if I modify that item, now it will be better. Let me try this way. Now, okay, I had this car and it didn't provide all the joy and enjoyment I was expecting from it. Now I will buy a new car. I will buy a better car, a bigger car, a red car, a blue car, or whatever, and now I will enjoy it. So this is the Charvita Charvananam. And this gives a very interesting sensation. Just as I was now actually elaborating and trying to convey this mentality, no, this didn't work, I'll try this way, and then it puts us in a certain trance. We are what we called here, it's called addiction. We became addicted, like an addict to the drugs. More. We can't stop. It actually just takes us away, just washes us away. There is no, what is the word? We can't step out of this cycle. We are addicted completely. And this will only take us to hell. So this is the verse. This Prahlad Maharaj explains this. And but how do we get help? Or why do we not get help? Although we are instructed, there is Shastra, there are sadhus, there are people who tell us how to do it properly, that we are not this body, we are spirit souls, you do this, you will be happy, you do this, you will suffer. Although we have this constant instruction about the Supreme, about Krishna, they don't make effort towards hearing it. That's how the verse is explaining it. Although they are receiving instructions, and although they can make effort, or both things, they are actually not doing it. And that's why they are staying in this material world. So this is the solution: receiving instruction, and also making an effort towards. So that's what's explained in these words. We have, this is very interesting, the substance and shadow. So the material life As we are now reaching to the transition, we explained the suffering, the material side. We know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We can now come over to the spiritual. What defines material? It defines the understanding, the false understanding of that I am this body. This is ahankar. And there is the opposite of it, that I am spirit, soul. I am Sat, Chit, Ananda. I'm not part of this material existence. This is again explained in the Bhagavad Gita for those inspired to learn about how to become free from the entanglement. I strongly and warmly recommend Bhagavad Gita as a study manual. Very interesting literature. How do we learn how to discriminate? Vivek means discrimination. So we start with the basic principle. There is eternal and there is temporary. Temporary is part of I almost said part of this material world, but everything actually, technically speaking, is eternal, because it's part of the supreme eternal being. But what happens is that us not understanding this principle makes it temporary, makes it illusion. So this is the principle of illusion, that I have interaction with something and I don't understand where that something originates from, how it is connected to the Supreme. So Vedanta Sutra, first verse, Atato Brahma Jigyaso, it immediately Jigyasa immediately tells us, now is the time to inquire about the transcendental knowledge, the supreme Brahman, the absolute truth. So that's that. How do we do it? We do it, so we have, basic principle, I am not this body, I am spirit soul. Still, I am embodied in this seemingly materialistic, prison, and I interact with seemingly matter. So how do we transcend? What is that basic understanding? It's called Vairagya or Tyag or Yagya. So the basic principle of dharma is the renunciation. So yes, we are part of this material world, and we interact with this material world, but we do it according to the rules and the nature of those elements, and the most important thing, we are not attached to them. We are detached. So although we are surrounded by these members of our army, the family, the wife, the children, the house, the dog, all the elements, we have to deal with them according to the nature, to their nature, and we have to be detached. This is actually the bridge between matter and spirit. This is how we will transcend in every element. And we have this udāsina. Udāsina means actually ut means above, and asin or asan, like asana, means it's coming from the root as, it's to sit. So we have to sit above. We need to elevate ourselves above what's going on here, this material world. So that is the principle of liberation, not acting without being attached. Does this make sense so far? Yeah? There is this nice words from Bhagavad Gita. It explains the banyan tree, the ashvat, which is upside down. It says the real form, it's 15.3.4, the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. So Krishna explains here. This material world is so complex. There is no beginning. There is no end. You cannot fathom it. You can't understand it. Only thing you can do is to cut it down with the detachment. That's the principle here. Therefore, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. And there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Again, such a nice, condensed explanation. In Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Krishna explains, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. This is actually just the practical aspect. How should we, or how could we, or how can we do this detachment? So, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Have you noticed that when you wake up in the morning, you have a certain mood, like you're, or you're kind of more happy, more cheered up, right? Also, have you noticed that when you look out the window, sometimes it rains and sometimes the sun is out? We have no influence over them. This is what Krishna explains here, is the material nature. It just happens without our influence. Winter, summer, cold, hot. So what we can do with them is rise above the influence of them. Because if you're always influenced by these changes, you are actually entangled, you depend on them. There was this nice story, and I will shortly conclude. There are two scenarios. This actually explains how this mentality works in reality. A young man, a handsome young man, wakes up and he is very tired, but he looks out the window, it's raining. Oh, it immediately pushes his mood down. He makes his breakfast. He's very kind of trying to extend the time as much as he can. He's not enthused, he's not happy at all. He drinks his coffee, he dresses slowly, nothing is kind of positive. Then he walks out and goes to the bus. Rain is falling, so he's even now not just disturbed but angry, and goes to work. Right? Same scenario, same young man, same beautiful, gorgeous, handsome young man, wakes up in the morning, jumps out of the bed, looks out the window, it's raining, he knows what coat to wear, where is the umbrella, grabs quickly the breakfast, runs down to the street, runs to the bus to catch it, he sees the bus is coming, he doesn't care about the puddles, he steps into the puddles, he just runs through the rain very happily, enthusiastically to catch the bus, jumps onto the bus, he's cheerful, he greets the bus driver, because he's going to meet his girlfriend. You got the point? So the consciousness, when the consciousness is changed, when we change our consciousness within interacting with this world, everything changes around us. That's when we are becoming to be happy, really happy, permanently happy. So we have now, unless we learn to discriminate, unless we engage in higher consciousness, unless we accept the guidelines of the sadhu, guru and shastra, and ultimately engage in the dharma according to this age, which are the basic principles, we are not going to get the salvation. What is the dharma of this age? Anyone knows? Hare Krishna. It's called there is the word for this before we start chanting. Harinam Sankirtan. Sanatan Dharma. Right? Sanatan Dharma. The ultimate. And this is the congregational chanting of the names of God. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we come to a kirtan or a bhajan, or when we go to into an assembly of Vaishnavas, devotees of Krishna, we naturally feel this elevated feeling, this transcendental atmosphere. And that is actually that's just a drop, actually just a spark from a drop, which promises us that if you stay in the association of the devotees, if you continue chanting, this will just increase. But because of our material entanglement, we don't connect the two. We think, yes, now I'm with devotees, it's very good, but I have so many other things to do. I have to deal with the reality. I have to do a work. I have to go and do this. I have to deal with my wife. I have to deal with my child. I have to do this. I have to do that. And yes, of course, there is the chanting of the Hare Krishna. It's very good. But I have this and I have that. So that duality, until we eliminate that, until we understand that there is only this, and even if you do this, you should do it with incorporating this. I'm showing you. So if you deal with these material elements out of duty, with no detachment, and try to constantly remember Krishna and chant the Hare, there is no limit. No one will tell you not to do it. You can cook at home for the family and chant the Hare Krishna, or listen a class. You can deal with your child accordingly, appropriately, and connect that energy to Krishna. It's called putratvam. Have you heard it? Putratvam. It's the childness. The childness. If you study the 10th canto, or especially the Krishna book, you will see the core, the essence of childlessness. Putratvam. If you connect that, you are on the transcendental level. So this is the unfortunate situation, that we have this disconnect between the two. So what does it say here? It says perception. The answer for our solution from today's verse will be revealed tomorrow, and I encourage everyone to come, because a very learned scholar will give a class tomorrow, and I'm hoping to, I'm cooking, so I won't be here, but I encourage everyone to come tomorrow and hear what is the solution from Shukadev Goswami. And eventually, this is more important, the shift. How do we transition from one to another? We need to connect everything to Krishna. In the Katha Upanishad, it is said, it's interesting, arise, awake, approach the great spiritual teacher and learn the truth. The Vais says, the Vais say that the path is as sharp and difficult to tread as the razor of edge. And ultimately, we know the Bhagavad Gita explains this in Bhagavad Gita. Where Bhagavad Gita ends, and this is this verse, Sarva Dharma, 1866, where Bhagavad Gita ends is where Srimad Bhagavatam starts. This is very important. This is our bridge. So, what does it mean, all religion? So, remember when we listed all those items, spirit healing and aura and chakra and palm and all those things. This is what it means. So, you have to give up all your attachment and all that concept that you will be protected by these material elements. And when you give that up, what is left is the pure, unalloyed, devotional service. And that's what Bhagavatam will now start explaining. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have no time for questions, unfortunately. Would you have something related to the topic?
I mean, it's about, basically you're saying about the duty that the man, he can take care of his family, but with a sense of detachment. But that sense of detachment, is it like a mental adjustment, like that his consciousness is detached, even if outwardly he's supposed to be attached because he's performing duty?
When we said that a man should be detached in performing his duties, the question is, should that be mental or physical?
You said mental.
But if you do it physically, what will happen?
You will become attached.
You will become detached.
You will become attached.
You will become... No, if you physically do a detachment, not mentally, what will happen?
You will be detached.
No, you will get a slap from your wife.
Oh,
Very simple. You cannot physically not perform your duty. Your duty today, because you are taking the children to the school, because she has an early day in the work, so I'm going to practice detachment today. I'm going to take the children to school. I fully understand the principle of detachment, and I'm detaching my whole being, my mental and physical state, from performing the duties. Physically, you have to do everything according to the Shastra, like Arjuna. He was the best warrior. He was the most trained, the most sufficient in the art of war. And he said, "No, Krishna, I can't do it. I have to detach myself from this." But his detachment was artificial. His detachment was due to fear, due to detachment to family, due to illusion, But Krishna said, no, you fight because that's your nature. But inside, you have the transcendental knowledge and you understand. You just do your duty, but inside in your heart, you understand this is not what will save me. What will save me is that if I do this duty in consciousness of Krishna. Does that make sense? Okay. No more questions. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nitai Go Premanande. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.